Welcome, dear listeners, to our captivating Miss Marple audiobook series, where the astute spinster from St. Mary Mead unravels the most perplexing enigmas with her unparalleled insight into human nature. Today, we embark on Miss Marple's Killer Train from Paddington, a thrilling ride of suspicion, red herrings, and a locked car murder that defies explanation. Picture this. Amid the clatter of Paddington Station, Miss Marple boards a fateful train after a cryptic summons, only to witness a chilling scream and a businessman slain in his seat, blood staining the velvet cushions. Was it a rival's dagger, or a deeper conspiracy chugging through the night? Join Miss Marple as she knits together clues of betrayal and greed in this edge-of-your-seat whodunit. Buckle up. The twists will leave you breathless. Chapter 1. The ominous departure. The cacophony of Paddington Station enveloped Miss Jane Marple like a living entity, a symphony of hissing steam, clanging bells, and the murmur of countless voices blending into a rhythmic hum. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, the kind where the air carried the sharp tang of coal smoke and distant rain, and the platform bustled with travellers, businessmen in bowler hats clutching briefcases, families herding children with sticky buns in hand, and porters wheeling trolleys laden with trunks that whispered tales of far-off destinations. Miss Marple, her modest valise at her feet and a woolen shawl draped over her shoulders, stood amid the throng, her blue eyes scanning the crowd with the quiet acuity of a bird of prey disguised as a sparrow. She had received the telegram just that morning, delivered to her cosy cottage in St. Mary Mead by a breathless postboy. The words were terse, etched in the operator's impersonal script. Urgent matter aboard the 450 from Paddington. Danger lurks in velvet seats. Meet me, Lucy E. Lucy Eyelesbarrow, her goddaughter's resourceful friend, was not one for dramatics. Her life as a domestic organizer for the elite often placed her in the orbit of intrigue, but this summons carried an edge sharper than usual. Miss Marple had packed swiftly, a few essentials, her knitting bag for camouflage, and a sense of foreboding that settled like fog over the downs. As the great clock struck 4, the 450 to the West Country announced its readiness with a plume of steam that billowed like a dragon's breath. Miss Marple boarded the first-class carriage, her ticket courtesy of Lucy's foresight, and found her compartment, a plush enclave of polished wood and velvet upholstery, the windows framing the receding platform like a moving picture show. She settled by the window, her knitting needles emerging from her bag like antennae, clicking a steady rhythm that belied her vigilant mind. The compartment filled gradually. First, a haughty heiress in a fur-trimmed coat, her diamonds catching the light like captured stars, clutching a lapdog that yapped intermittently. Then, a brooding artist, with ink-stained fingers and a sketchbook under his arm, his eyes shadowed by a felt hat. And finally, a furtive conductor, not the official one, but a man in a rumpled uniform who lingered too long checking tickets, his gaze darting like a ferret's. Miss Marple noted their details, the heiress's monogrammed luggage screaming old money, the artist's charcoal smudges hinting at recent frenzy, the conductor's calloused hands belying his role. As the train lurched forward, gathering speed through London's outskirts, conversation sparked like flint on steel. The heiress, Lady Vanessa Hargrove, sighed dramatically. These journeys are interminable, nothing but fields and tedium. The artist, Raoul Duval, grunted in agreement, his French accent thick as clotted cream. Tedium inspires, madame, the blank canvas of the countryside. Miss Marple smiled politely. One finds inspiration in the most unexpected places, like a telegram summoning one to adventure. Lady Hargrove arched an eyebrow. Adventure? At our age? Miss Marple chuckled softly. Age is but a number, my dear. The spirit remains ever curious. Their chatter turned to lighter fare. The latest London scandals, the artist's upcoming exhibition. But Miss Marple's ears perked at whispers of a deadly inheritance dispute. Lady Hargrove leaned in conspiratorially. My late uncle's will contested by cousins with grasping fingers. Fortunes tied in knots, you know. Duval sketched idly, his pencil scratching like secrets on paper. Knots untied with a sharp blade, non? The furtive conductor passed again, his uniform badge glinting oddly, perhaps a forgery. Miss Marple filed it away. The landscape blurred into rolling hills dotted with sheep, the train's rhythm a soothing lullaby that masked underlying tensions. Lucy Eyelesbarrow slipped into the compartment midway, her practical bob and no-nonsense attire a contrast to the opulence. Aunt Jane, thank goodness. It's worse than I thought. They spoke in low tones, Lucy recounting her employment with a wealthy family on board, whispers of sabotage and shadowed threats circling their patriarch's vast estate. As dusk painted the sky in bruised purples, the train's whistle pierced the air like a warning. A piercing scream echoed from the adjacent car, shattering the fragile camaraderie. The compartment froze, Lady Hargrove clutching her dog, Duval's pencil snapping in his grip. Miss Marple rose swiftly. We must investigate. They hurried down the swaying corridor, the conductor vanishing ahead like smoke. The next car revealed horror. A businessman, portly and besuited, slumped in his seat, a crimson stain blooming across his chest from a fatal stab wound. His eyes stared blankly at the window, reflecting the flashing countryside. Passengers clustered, gasps mingling with the clatter of wheels. Murder! Someone cried. The victim, Sir Reginald Thorne, Lucy identified, a rival claimant to a disputed fortune, clutched a crumpled note. Your greed ends here. Miss Marple knelt, oblivious to the rocking floor, her gloved hands hovering, stabbed once precisely, through the heart. No struggle, he knew his attacker. Her gaze fell on a bloody handkerchief tucked hastily in the seat cushions, monogrammed with elegant initials. B.H. Lady Hargrove? The heiress blanched. Mine, but lost yesterday, Duval muttered. A plant, surely. The train guard arrived, flustered, sealing the car as best he could amid the motion. Panic simmered, accusations flying like sparks. The artist eyed for his sharp pencils, the conductor absent during the cry. Miss Marple imposed calm, her voice a steady anchor. Fear clouds judgment. Let us timeline. Sir Reginald boarded alone. Scream at dusk. Who passed this way? Testimonies trickled. Lady Hargrove in the lavatory, Duval sketching landscapes, the conductor collecting fares elsewhere. Miss Marple's scrutiny intensified on the handkerchief. Threads snagged, as if torn in haste. Not planted randomly, the initials accuse, but the fabric's weave matches your stole, Lady Hargrove. Yet the bloods congealed oddly, pre-applied perhaps. The heiress protested, but Miss Marple demonstrated with a quick test, using her knitting needle. The stain flaked, revealing dye beneath. A ruse, the true weapon, a slender blade, concealed. Duval exhaled. Then I'm cleared. My pencils are blunt. The guard nodded gratefully. Order restored, ma'am. As the train resumed its hurtle, a fragile order settled over the carriage. Suspicions kindled but contained. Alliances tentatively formed over shared sherry from a flask. Lucy whispered to Miss Marple, You've averted chaos. The sleuth gazed at the darkening fields. For the moment, dear, the killer's motive steams ahead, a locomotive of its own. Night enveloped the rails, stars winking like distant signals. Miss Marple's watch began, the chapter's perils bridged, dynamic revelations chugging toward corridors of whisper and doom. Chapter 2. Whispers in the corridor. The train shuddered to a halt with a metallic groan, steam hissing from its underbelly like the sigh of a weary beast. Beyond the windows, a rural siding emerged from the twilight gloom, a forgotten outpost of weathered platforms and flickering gas lamps, surrounded by fields that stretched into the encroaching night like a vast, undulating sea of shadow. Miss Jane Marple pressed her face to the glass, her breath fogging the pain momentarily before she wiped it clear with her gloved hand. The scream's echo still reverberated in her mind, a sharp counterpoint to the sudden silence that blanketed the carriage. Sir Reginald Thorne's lifeless form lay just beyond the door, a grim sentinel to the chaos that had erupted moments before. The compartment's occupants stirred from their frozen tableau. Lady Vanessa Hargrove clutched her yapping lapdog tighter, its tiny barks now muffled against her fur collar. Raoul Duval, the artist, crumpled his sketchbook in his lap, his fingers leaving smudges of charcoal like accidental confessions. And Lucy Eyelesbarrow, ever practical, rose to her feet, her eyes meeting Miss Marple's with a silent plea for guidance. "The authorities will board soon," Lucy murmured, her voice steady despite the pallor on her cheeks. "But until then, we mustn't let panic derail us." Miss Marple nodded, her mind already mapping the narrow corridors ahead like a labyrinth of possibilities. "Quite right, dear. Whispers travel faster than trains in confined spaces. Let us listen before they distort." The group ventured out. The train's sway now stilled, the air thick with the scent of oiled metal and cooling steam. The corridor was a dimly lit tunnel of polished wood and brass fittings, doors ajar revealing glimpses of other passengers, wide-eyed faces peering out like portraits in a gallery of fear. The official conductor, burly and mustached, his uniform crisp, emerged from the front, lanterns swinging like a pendulum. "Ladies and gentlemen, remain calm. The line's clear ahead, but we've signaled for police at the next station. No one leaves their compartments." His voice boomed, but Miss Marple noted the tremor in his hands, the way his eyes darted to the shadows. "You were absent during the scream," she observed mildly, stepping into his path. He blinked, flustered. "I was checking the couplings. Routine." His evasion hung like smoke, but she let it pass. For now, as the group clustered near the murder car, sealed temporarily with a makeshift barrier of stacked luggage, whispers slithered through the cracks, a porter muttering about cursed runs, a young couple debating alibis in hushed tones. Miss Marple navigated the corridor with Lucy at her side, their footsteps muffled on the carpeted floor. "Start with the adjacent compartments," she suggested. "Ears to the walls, literally." They paused by a door where a low conversation filtered through, the heiress's voice sharp as a stiletto. "That handkerchief, mine, but stolen from my valise this morning. Someone's framing me." Inside, Lady Hargrove paced a narrow circuit, her dog now silenced in its basket. Duval lounged against the window, sketching furiously, quick lines capturing the corridor's tension. "Madame," Miss Marple greeted, slipping in. "Your loss coincides with the crime. Who had access?" Hargrove whirled, her diamonds flashing like warning signals. "Anyone, the porter, that slimy conductor, even this scribbler here." Duval's pencil paused. Accusations fly like your dog's fleas, lady. I was drawing landscapes, not plotting stabs. Their sparring revealed fissures. Hargrove's rivalry with Thorne over a contested estate, Duval's disdain for bourgeois collectors, like the victim who had snubbed his work. Lucy interjected, her organizer's mind cataloguing details. The inheritance. Thorne was set to claim it tomorrow in Exeter. Motive for haste. Hargrove's lips thinned, perhaps, but my alibi, chatting with the barman, over sherry. Miss Marple filed it, her thoughts turning to the conductor's absence. They moved on, the corridor a vein pulsing with the train's latent energy, doors creaking open to reveal more fragments. In the next compartment, an elderly couple huddled over a thermos of tea, their faces creased with worry. We heard the scuffle, the husband admitted, his voice quavering like the train's idle hum. Muffled thuds, then the scream, like a fox in a trap. His wife nodded, her knitting a mirror to Miss Marple's own, and footsteps hurried toward the rear. Miss Marple's eyes lit. Direction matters, toward the caboose or the engine. The couple exchanged glances. Rear, definitely, away from the scream. Their testimony painted a fleeing shadow, but as Miss Marple probed, a second note materialized, slipped under the door like a serpent's tongue. Smeared with what appeared to be blood, it read, "Secrets derail lives. Yours next." Panic flickered, but Miss Marple examined it closely. Forgery, the blood is beetroot stain, not coagulated, meant to incite fear, scatter suspicions. She traced the paper's watermark to the train stationery available in the lounge. The writer strikes close, aboard, adapting. The train jolted slightly, signaling preparations to resume, but a delay stretched as police telegrams crackled over the wires. Miss Marple used the interlude to confront the conductor in the galley, where pots simmered on a small stove, the air thick with stew's savoury promise. He mopped his brow, avoiding her gaze. Absent, I was relieving myself. Miss Marple's tone remained mild. Your past. A homicide whispered in railway law. A brakeman's death, ruled accident, but suspicious. He paled, his moustache twitching. Years ago, cleared, but guilt lingers like steam. His confession unfolded. A grudge from that old case Thorne involved as a witness who testified against him. I sought redress, but not murder. Miss Marple nodded. Redress through letters. Your fountain pen leaks the same blue ink as the note. He denied vehemently, but a search of his pocket revealed a matching vial. Empty. Planted, he cried. Miss Marple concurred after testing the drip. Fresh, not aged. Indeed, your absence, a setup to implicate. Cleared for the moment, he sagged in relief. The galley a brief haven. As the train whistled its departure, resuming its thunderous charge through the darkening countryside, a fragile order knit the carriages. Passengers shared stories in the lounge over lukewarm tea, alliances forming like tracks converging. Lucy marveled at Miss Marple. You've untangled so much already. The sleuth gazed at the flashing landscape. Tangles lead to knots, dear. Whispers echo, but the conspiracy deepens, a chugging enigma. Night fully claimed the rails, stars streaking like comet trails. Miss Marple's vigilance persisted, the chapter's whispers bridged, dynamic tensions propelling toward derailment's brink. Chapter 3. Deadly derailment. The train barreled through the inky veil of night, its iron wheels devouring the tracks with a relentless hunger that echoed the mounting suspicions coiled within its carriages. Flickering gas lamps cast erratic shadows along the corridors, transforming the velvet upholstered walls into a canvas of shifting illusions, faces leering from the gloom, hands reaching from darkened corners. Miss Jane Marple moved through this labyrinth with the quiet assurance of one who had navigated human darkness far longer than railway lines. The scream's aftermath had left the passengers in a state of suspended animation, their conversations reduced to brittle fragments, eyes darting like fireflies trapped in a jar. Lucy Eyelesbarrow walked beside her, her practical shoes silent on the carpet, a notebook tucked under her arm like a shield. Aunt Jane, the guards sealed the body, but whispers are spreading faster than the steam. Lady Hargrove's demanding we stop at the next station, claims it's unseemly to travel with death aboard. Miss Marple nodded, her shawl a whisper against her shoulders. Unseemly, yes, but necessary. The killer counts on disruption. We must observe the ripples they create. They reached the observation car at the train's rear, a domed sanctuary of glass and brass, where the night sky unfurled above like a star-studded cloak, and the receding tracks gleamed under moonlight like silver veins. Here the suspects had congregated, drawn by an unspoken need for solidarity or surveillance. Lady Vanessa Hargrove reclined on a chaise, her lapdog now asleep in a basket, a fan fluttering in her hand like a trapped butterfly. Raoul Duval stood by the window, his sketchbook open to a page of frantic lines depicting the corridor's chaos. The furtive conductor, now revealed as Elias Crow, per his reluctant admission, poured brandy from a decanter, his hand steady, but his eyes evasive. Miss Marple settled into a wicker chair, her knitting resuming its rhythmic dance, a soothing counterpoint to the train's thunder. A dreadful business, she remarked, drawing them in. Sir Reginald's demise, so abrupt, like a note struck wrong in a symphony. Lady Hargrove snapped her fan shut. Abrupt? Calculated more like, that man had enemies sharper than his business deals. My uncle's estate, he was set to contest it, the grasping toad. Duval's pencil scratched. Enemies, or rivals in art. He scoffed at my exhibition, called it daubs for the delusional. Crow handed out glasses, the amber liquid swirling like captured sunlight. Gentlemen don't stab in the dark, but I've seen feuds on these runs, passions ignited by confinement. His words hung, inviting confessions. Miss Marple probed gently. Confinement breeds revelations, like wartime smuggling, rumors of treasures hidden in these very cars. The group stiffened. Lady Hargrove's fan resumed its flutter. Smuggling. Preposterous. Though Reginald dabbled in artifacts, Egyptian, trinkets, curse they say. Duval chuckled darkly. Curses, or convenient alibis for foul play. As brandy loosened tongues, Miss Marple steered toward alibis. Your movements, Mr. Duval. Sketching, you said. He flipped his book, revealing a charcoal rendering of the landscape. But one page bore a hidden map, lines tracing compartments like veins in a leaf. Inspiration strikes oddly, he admitted, but Miss Marple's eye caught the overlay, a diagram of the train's undercarriage. Odd indeed. These mark hidden spaces. For cargo, perhaps. Duval blanched. Mere fancy, doodling during delays. Crow intervened, his voice gravelly. Hidden spaces. This line's old. Compartments from the war for dispatches. Lady Hargrove sipped her brandy. Dispatches or contraband. Reginald bragged of a deal. Rare gems en route to Exeter. The revelation simmered, suspicions coiling like the steam outside. Miss Marple set her knitting aside. Gems invite thieves, or worse. Let us inspect. The truth hides in nooks. They ventured to the baggage car, the train's sway adding urgency, lanterns swinging like pendulums. The space was a cavern of trunks and crates, the air musty with leather and dust, Miss Marple's lantern illuminated a loose panel in the floor. Prying, it revealed a concealed nook, maps fluttering out like escaped birds. Blueprints, Lucy breathed, unrolling one. Diagrams of smuggling routes, marked with poison symbols, wartime relics or current schemes. Crow paled. I knew of them, but empty now. Tensions escalated as the train accelerated, the engine's roar drowning whispers. Lady Hargrove accused Duval, your sketches match these, artist or smuggler. He retorted, your gems, bait for murder? Crow mediated, but Miss Marple spotted tampering, a wire snaking from the panel to the brakes. Sabotage! Pull the cord! Too late, the train lurched, brakes screeching in protest, sparks flying like fireworks as metal ground metal. Passengers tumbled, cries piercing the din. The world tilted in a cacophony of shattering glass and rending steel. The derailment halted just short of catastrophe, the train skidding to a stop on a siding, wheels smoking but intact. Dust settled like fallout, the night air rushing in through cracked windows. Miss Marple rose from the floor, unscathed, her shawl askew but her resolve firm, a deadly intent to silence us all. Inspections revealed the wire cut, rigged to fail at speed. The killer's work, she declared, tracing the cut to a fresh blade mark. In the chaos's aftermath, as passengers regrouped under starlight, Miss Marple confronted the evidence. A bloody glove snagged on the wire, monogrammed with L.H., Lady Hargrove. Yours? The heiress gasped, lost in the scuffle, but planted. Miss Marple examined, the blood flaky, theatrical paint beneath, indeed forged from props like a stage set. Duval admitted sourcing them for his inspirations, but alibis cleared him. He'd been in view during rigging. The guard, arriving breathless, confirmed, lines clear ahead, we'll limp to station. A brief tapestry of trust wove among survivors. Hargrove and Duval sharing a flask, Crow organizing aid. Lucy marveled. You've averted disaster, Aunt Jane. Miss Marple gazed at the mangled tracks. One derailment thwarted, but the killer's path veers onward, echoes of crimson urging us forward. The train creaked back to motion, the night a velvet shroud. Miss Marple's vigilance deepened, the chapter's perils bridged, dynamic tensions chugging toward poisoned alliances. Chapter 4. Poisoned alliances. The first fingers of dawn clawed through the train's grimy windows, painting the lounge car in streaks of pale rose and amber that did little to dispel the chill of suspicion clinging to its occupants. The air was thick with the ghosts of spilled secrets, stale brandy fumes mingling with the metallic bite of fear. The velvet seats now rumpled from a night of fitful dozing and whispered debates. Miss Jane Marple had not slept. Instead, she had perched like a vigilant owl in her corner, her knitting a ceaseless sentinel, her mind weaving the frayed ends of alliances into a tapestry that revealed more knots than patterns. Lucy Eyelesbarrow stirred beside her, rubbing sleep from her eyes, her notebook creased from being clutched like a lifeline. Aunt Jane, the guard's due to rouse everyone soon. Exeter approaches, but so does the truth, I hope. Miss Marple set her needles aside with a soft click, her gaze drifting to the blurring landscape where meadows unfurled like rumpled quilts under the rising sun. Hope is a fragile engine, dear, but alliances once poisoned corrode from within. We must convene them here, in this rolling confessional, where the light of day strips away our nocturnal veils. Their strategy was audacious, yet understated. Summon the principals under the guise of a shared breakfast, where the clink of china and the aroma of coffee could coax guarded revelations from reluctant souls. The lounge, with its panoramic vistas and intimate alcoves, became their arena, a theatre where toxic bonds would dissolve under the glare of exposure. The invitations were dispatched via the porter, a freckled youth with eyes wide as saucers, slipping notes beneath doors, dawn counsel for collective safeguard. They trickled in, a procession of wariness. Elias Crow, the conductor, his uniform brushed but his posture sagging under the weight of unspoken burdens, a fresh pipe clenched between his teeth. Lady Vanessa Hargrove, her ensemble refreshed with a silk blouse that whispered luxury, but her hands betraying a faint quiver as she adjusted her brooch. Raoul Duval, his sketchpad tucked under his arm, fingers still dusted with charcoal like remnants of nocturnal visions. The guard loomed at the threshold, his uniform a badge of authority, while a steward bustled with trays of porridge, kippers, and steaming pots of tea. The mundane act, a counterbalance to the electric tension. Miss Marple dispensed the tea herself, the fragrant steam rising like incantations. Dawn revives the spirit, she observed, offering a cup to Crow. Yet it also bears the cracks in iron or intentions. Their exchange kindled slowly, like tinder catching spark. Crow exhaled a plume of aromatic smoke. Cracks. This route's riddled with them, wartime patches, secret hatches for consignments that turn to contraband. Lady Hargrove's brooch caught the light, flashing like a signal. Contraband, akin to Thorne's treasures, those pharaonic curios he paraded, laced with ancient venoms, or so the legend spun. Duval's pad flipped open, his pencil gliding in fluid arcs, depictions of vials and blades inscribed with arcane symbols, legends, or lore to escalate price. Thorne enticed me with a partnership, document his hoard, then retracted, deeming my artistry archaic scrawls. The packs began to fester, utterances seeping like acid from a cracked vial. Miss Marple navigated with delicate prompts. Retractions foster acrimony. Lady Hargrove, your transactions with Thorne, corrupted by those curios. Vanessa's saucer rattled faintly. Transactions, a brittle accord. We tendered jointly for a trove in Alexandria, but he deceived me, seizing the bounty. Those relics, amulets infused with toxins, daggers graven with maledictions, lethal if mishandled. Crow's pipe ember flared. Mishandled. I ferried a kin in the conflict, for patrons like Thorne. Accords then were tenuous, one falter and collapse. Duval's strokes intensified on the page. Collapse? My atelier disintegrated beneath Thorne's counterfeits, relics fabricated to inundate the bazaar. I pledged retaliation, but via disclosure, not ferocity. Their disclosures meshed like cogs in a pernicious apparatus. Hargrove's covert oath to recapture the relics through enigmatic intermediaries. Crow's linkage with a covert railway syndicate. Thorne, a defector who embezzled gains. Duval's compact with a competing conservator to debunk Thorne's cash, his illustration schematics for unveiling frauds. Miss Marple placed her cup down with purposeful resonance. Compacts bind destinies, tainted by covetousness, but let's exhume the foundations. She advocated an exploration of the caboose at the forthcoming brief pause, a coaling stop in a picturesque glen, the train idling like a slumbering colossus. They alighted under the guard's watchful scrutiny, the platform a ribbon of timber amid verdant vales, resonant with avian melodies. The caboose was a repository of heaped portmanteaus, the atmosphere dense with hide and antiquity. Miss Marple's lantern sliced the obscurity, highlighting Hargrove's coffer, forcibly breached, its clasps distorted. Violated, she proclaimed. Within, cradled among satins, rested an elaborate file, the elixir luminous, a stiletto adjacent, etched with primordial glyphs, crow's pipe tumbled, thorns trove, stashed. Herein, Lady Hargrove extended toward the file. This distillate, atropine foundation, mortal in murmurs. Duval's tone honed. You identified. Your compact with him, to vend these. Indictments blaze like beacon fires, Crow imputing Hargrove with embedding them to ensnare him, Hargrove rebutting with Duval's inventive counterfeits as venom conduits, Duval countering with Crow's conflict-era ingress as the trafficking artery. Tensions ascended as the train hooted recommencement, corralling them back within. In the lounge, the disclosures seethed, Crow conceding to transporting the trove for Thorn, but repudiating modification. Hargrove acknowledging a contaminated oath to subvert his bargains. Duval divulging a scarlet compact with a Gallic craftsman for retribution. We amalgamated transiently, Duval permitted, to dismantle him, but it soured when Thorn imperiled us all. Miss Marple's needles ceased. Soured into manslaughter, the stiletto's bane conforms to the vestige on Thorn's laceration, insidious if abraded. The congregation recoiled, compacts disintegrating like saccharin in infusion. The guard progressed. Restrain yourselves. But Miss Marple disclosed a mannequin in the freight, cabled to emulate a skulking contour, its apparatuses connected to the frayed hasp. A stratagem to intimidate Thorn into divulgence. Your handiwork, Mr. Crow. He wilted. I facilitated the phantoms, furnished the appurtenances for coercion, but the lunge, not mine, I abetted, didn't perpetrate. The constabulary at Exeter would arbitrate, but presently Crow's detention as facilitator assuaged the paranoia, his manacles a termination to the chapter's commotion. Hargrove and Duval traded glances of hesitant concord, verities hemorrhaging like pigment from a ruptured stylus. Lucy respired. Pax reformed in rupture. Miss Marple regarded the illuminating vista, reformed yet blemished. The bane persists, a stroke for the conclusive admission. The tracks bellowed onward, the chapter's fissures mended, dynamic disclosures propelling toward fatal advent. Chapter 5. The fatal arrival. The train eased into Exeter Station with a final, exhausted hiss of steam, its iron flanks gleaming under the canopy of a star-pricked sky that stretched like a vast, indifferent tapestry overhead. The platform bustled with late-night energy, porters wheeling trolleys laden with luggage that thudded like muffled heartbeats, families reuniting in bursts of laughter and embraces, and the distant whistle of another locomotive signaling departures into the unknown. Miss Jane Marple stepped down last, her valise light in her hand, the weight of revelation far heavier on her shoulders. The air was crisp, laced with the salty tang of nearby estuaries and the faint, acrid bite of coal fires from the town beyond. Lucy Eyelesbarrow flanked her, notebook tucked away, her eyes scanning the crowd for the promised police escort. The dwindled riders assembled and the platform, a ragged circle under the harsh glow of gas lamps that cast elongated shadows like accusing fingers. Elias Crow, the conductor, stood rigid, his uniform now a symbol of tarnished duty. Lady Vanessa Hargrove clutched a lapdog's basket, her diamonds dimmed by the night's ordeals. Raoul Duval lingered at the edge, sketchbook closed, his artistic fire banked into quiet embers. The guard herded them together, his whistle a sharp punctuation. Police incoming, no wandering. But Miss Marple raised a hand, her voice cutting through the murmurs like a gentle breeze parting fog. A moment, if you please. The stars bear witness. Let us unveil the final veil here. where journeys end and truths alight. They complied, drawn by her unassuming authority, forming a semicircle on the platform's worn bricks. The night air whispered through the station's arches, carrying snippets of distant conversations, a child's excited chatter, a vendor's call for papers, like echoes of lives untouched by their drama. Miss Marple began, her tone a serene river flowing toward inevitable falls. We arrive not just at a station, but at destiny's depot. The killer's train, a mobile snare for avarice, has reached its terminus. No more whispers or derailments, only the clear chime of resolution. She interlaced the ominous threads with masterful precision, her words painting the mosaic anew. The summons that lured me aboard, a forged beacon, penned not by Lucy but by one who anticipated chaos as camouflage. Sir Reginald Thorne's stabbing, a thrust not of impulse, but calculated to claim an undeserved legacy. Crow shifted uneasily. But the alliances, we confessed our parts. Miss Marple nodded. Confessed, yes, but as enablers, not the architect. The poisoned pacts of envy, the hidden compartments brimming with cursed relics, all diversions from the core venom. Her gaze settled on Lady Hargrove, who straightened, her brooch catching a lamp's gleam like a defiant spark. Lady Vanessa, or should I say Vanessa Thorne, the unacknowledged kin. The platform hushed, the distant whistle fading into silence. Hargrove's lapdog whimpered softly. Preposterous, I'm Hargrove by marriage. Miss Marple's smile was faint, laced with compassion. Marriage, yes, but to a distant cousin, concealing your blood tie to Thorne. The overlooked locket in your basket, engraved with blood-red initials. VT for Vanessa Thorne, a memento from your slain aunt, whose fortune Thorne usurped. The group inhaled sharply. Duval's sketchbook slipped open involuntarily. Her motive? Miss Marple continued, her voice weaving the tale like threads on a loom. Ambition insatiable, rooted in a vendetta for that aunt, poisoned subtly during a family gathering, ruled illness but suspected foul. You impersonated vulnerability, a haughty heiress aboard by chance, but orchestrated the journey, the telegram to summon a witness of repute, the alliances poisoned to scatter blame. Hargrove's composure held, but her knuckles whitened on the basket. Fantasies, prove it. Miss Marple produced the locket from her reticule, a delicate gold piece, its interior stained faintly crimson. This, retrieved from your dog's bedding during the chaos. The engravings match Thorne's will documents, your claim suppressed, the stabbing disguised as a struggle, the blade from your hidden cache laced with belladonna to ensure fatality, even from a graze. Lucy gasped softly. The relics you're smuggling? Miss Marple nodded. A facade to implicate others, Crow's network, Duval's forgeries, all pawns in your game to inherit unopposed. Hargrove's mask cracked, her voice a venomous hiss. Inherit, deserve. Thorne stole my aunt's legacy, poisoned her with those very essences to claim it. I bided time, allied with smugglers for access, forged pacts to isolate him. The train, a perfect trap, summoned suspicion with a scream, derailed to destroy evidence. Confessions cascaded, a torrent unchecked. The alliances tainted to create alibis. The dummy haunts to unnerve Thorne into vulnerability. The brakes tampered to silence prying eyes. Driven by fatal obsession, justice curdled into greed, shadows demanding blood. The police arrived then, boots echoing on the platform like fate's drumbeat, uniformed figures materializing from the station's gloom, led by a stern inspector with a notebook at the ready. Lady Hargrove, you're under arrest for the murder of Sir Reginald Thorne, plus attempted derailment and forgery. Handcuffs shimmered in the lamplight. clicking with finality around her wrists. She cast a last piercing glance at the group. Crow's bowed head, Duval's wide eyes, Lucy's steady gaze before being led away, her footsteps fading into the night's embrace like a retreating spectre. In the ensuing quiet, relief bloomed like dawn's first flowers. Crow extended a hand to Duval. Pacts broken, but perhaps mended in truth. The artist clasped it, his sketchbook opening to a fresh page. A new canvas, without curses. Lucy embraced Miss Marple. "Aunt Jane, you've steered us to safe harbour." The sleuth adjusted her shawl, gazing at the starry vault. Harbour, yes, with no storms lingering. The station purged, journeys renewed. They lingered on the platform as porters unloaded, conversations turning from peril to plans. Crow vowing honest rails ahead, Duval sketching the dawn's promise, Lucy organising onward travels. The inspector shook Miss Marple's hand. "Your insight, ma'am. Scotland Yard's envy." She smiled modestly. "Merely patterns observed, Inspector. Human frailty weaves them. Vigilance unravels." As the group dispersed into taxis and waiting arms, the station stirred to life, whistles piercing the air like triumphant notes. Miss Marple boarded a local connection, her valise light, the tale sealed in resolute peace. No enigmas unresolved, only the gentle triumph of observation over evil, the fatal arrival eternally interred.